my duty is so small this evening. We have the pleasure to have Paul in the house. I'll talk about him. But I just wanted to say welcome. Welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you. How many people have attended our previous sessions? Thank you. Thank you so much for coming back. Now, in the interest of those who are coming for the first time, the Family Night, organized by the International Center for Family Care, is just one of our programs. It's a platform that connects people to information. Some of us who read the Bible, God himself said, my people are perishing because of lack of knowledge. I just read on Paul's Twitter account a statement. He said, actually what people need is not medicine, but what? Knowledge. And that's the reason we are having this session. So really, you're very welcome. Let me just say something. A couple of years back, in this country, in this city, let me say in this country, people were probably not so conscious about health, do you remember a time when actually there was a lot of pork consumption, and you say it's still there, right? You remember? Just eat pork and put on weight, and actually people tell you, I think money has come in. Do you remember that time? Do you understand? Now, we seem to be living in a different season where Ugandans are more conscious about health and wellness. And what a right time to have Paul here. Now, health and wellness, just like spiritual matters, there's a lot of confusion. Did you know? Spiritual matters in this country, that's why people are taking holy water, holy rice, holy mangoes, holy ice cream. Do you understand? Because of lack of knowledge. And I just want to say to you, Paul, now, I don't want to claim I know this area more than you do, but to be honest with you, in the area of health and diet, people are about to eat grass. Yeah. We're so desperate for good health. People are about to drink soil. If they say if you take soil, you lose 10 kilos, they'll take it. Now, we don't want to get there. We don't want to get to that place. But I guarantee you, I think my point is, we are so desperate for information, and the right information. Because when you're desperate, anyone can give you anything and you go with it. And so I just want to say once again, thank you for coming. This is a great time to have Paul in the house. Can you clap for Paul? I'm really not competent enough to talk about Paul. Some of you know Paul more than I do, but I was so privileged to know Paul about 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And I've never been the same again. And listen, I attended his session and he made a statement, but then he said, you can be older than your body, Paul. That's the thing I remembered. And after that, I rushed to check my body. At that time, I was, I say 2 years back now, I don't want you to get into calculation, but I think I was about 46. Do you understand? Now I'm just left with 1 year to make 50. But don't be fooled. When a woman volunteers their age, you have to add 10. It's plus or plus 10. Okay? But Paul advised us to check our body age. I was 46. My body was 54. Okay? Yes, only. Now there are some people who have a real bad story. And I've never been the same again, Paul. I changed and I did different things. I am different. So it's such a joy to have Paul in the house. I don't want to say so many things because we've already lost time. But you're very welcome. And can you put your hands together and be welcome?
My name is Paul. I am a medical doctor. I went to school with Elizabeth. She's a pediatrician. She's the best pediatrician in Uganda. If you have a problem with your daughter or your son, she's the first person you want to call. Should I give them your number or? So she's a beautiful lady over there. So I went to school with her. We went to medical school. We began in 1999. So we're also not very young. We are still young? Okay. But I'll tell you my story first, why I end up doing, talking about healthy living and nutrition. I finished medical school, and I went into HIV research. And I was working in a place called Mojo. And I was actually a little bit bigger than this, but not too much. But then something good happened in my life. I got married. And in 2007, December, I got married, and then my life got better. Suddenly, somebody was cooking for me and taking care of me. And by the way, we should really give a big hand clap for all the wives in the house. I mean, I was very blessed. My wife took care of me, including cooking for me. So I began to put on weight. And not too much weight, but I put on weight. And at one point, I was 82 kilos. Today, I'm 67 kilos. In medical school, I was actually smaller than this. I was actually 60 kilos, but you know, eventually I went to 82 kilos. But I had a few turning points, and I'm going to just summarize the story. I always had asthma and allergies growing up as a child. And when I put on weight, they kind of increased the frequency, and I always had my inhaler close by. One day I decided, you know what, I need to take care of my weight, so I started to jog. And I felt a little bit dizzy. So I went to see a doctor that I worked with, Dr. Deo Wagwire, a very good physician. And he checked my, we had free tests, so I did my blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol. My cholesterol was a little bit high. And my blood pressure, believe it or not, was borderline high at age 29. So he wrote for me atorvastatin. I don't know if you know that drug. You know, I was like, really? 5 minutes, I just sat there across the table. And for the first time in my life, not the first time, but first time since being a doctor, I was the patient. And in 5 minutes, he sentenced me to drugs. You know how we'd go to the doctor and they just write, take these drugs. And then they tell you, you know, these things are for life. So I was like, really, at 29, I shouldn't be taking these drugs. And I didn't know what to do, because doctors really, with all due respect, they don't know how to tell you to be healthy. They know how to help you to stay alive when you're sick. So I met a doctor in the US through my sister-in-law called Joel Furman. He wrote a book called Eat to Live. When I read his book, two things came in my mind. This guy is either a genius or he's crazy, because the things he proposed for what you should be eating were radical. The things I'm going to say tonight are not radical. The things he proposed were radical. But I got in touch with him, and a few weeks ago I was with him again. I was in the US, and I met him. I thought I would put his picture here. But in our discussion, he asked me to do something that I've asked many people to do, which is not to eat cooked food for 7 days. So I thought this guy was crazy. He's like, how am I going to spend 7 days without cooked food? But I really wanted to see what he was all about. So my wife tells me, you know, you can't do this, because I really ate very unhealthy. But I did. And on day 5, I remember very clearly, on the 5th day of eating a healthy diet, plant-based, not cooked, I woke up in the morning and I was full of energy. And I always woke up tired in the morning. So for me, that was a big, big change. It seemed small, but I decided to continue with his guidance privately. And then about 3 months after, my wife tells me, you know what, you've stopped making this horrible noise you make every morning with your nose. She's like, you've stopped. So suddenly I wasn't waking up and rubbing my nose and sneezing. It was gone. 3 months. 1 year later, I remember I went to my father's farm in Mubende and I forgot my inhaler. And that was a crisis, because there's a lot of dust. I was always wheezing. But that time I didn't quiz at all, and I was really surprised that I spent a whole weekend and I was fine. Eventually, one day I realized this inhaler had expired. And I was really intrigued that, they tell us asthma, like many diseases, are familial. You get them, you have them all your life. I mean, I had spent a year, this thing had expired and I hadn't used it, and I hadn't even realized. Then I realized, oh my goodness, this is serious. So I just continued eating healthy. And many things happened, but I began to lose weight. That's the one thing that many people didn't like. So I lost weight from 82 kilos, and in 1 year I had lost up to 62 kilos. And I'll tell you, there was a family meeting to discuss this insanity that this guy is up to. Who's going to look at you as a doctor? But I felt great. One day I said, you know what? I'm quitting my job. I was an HIV researcher. I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to leave. I'm going to start teaching people how to be well. Because the thing is this, when you're sick, who do you go to? The doctor, isn't it? Now, if you go to the doctor and he doesn't know what to tell you about being healthy, he's going to do what he knows best, give you medicine, isn't it? So that was my story, and I thought it was hard at the beginning. People thought I was crazy, but I was so passionate about it because I was my first testimony. Now, along the way, I tried it on many people without telling them, my mother, my siblings, and I saw how powerful it was. Now, today, many of us are struggling with health challenges. Some do not have health challenges, but they don't want to have health challenges, isn't it? And we all want to be well, isn't it? Nobody wants to be sick. I don't like to go to the doctor and sit for 5 hours waiting to be given tablets. Nobody wants that, isn't it? What you want is to be well, and being well, the definition of being well means that you wake up in the mirror, you stand in the mirror. So you wake up in the morning, stand in the mirror, look at yourself, and you like what you see. And then you also enjoy the experience of living in your body. Okay? Now, I know people, if they climb up the flight of stairs just from there up to here, it's a problem, isn't it? That's not wellness. You eat food and you have gas, that is not wellness. You have a headache all the time, that's not wellness. You can't fall asleep, that is not wellness. Wellness is you enjoy living in your body. Now, before we talk about how to be well, I want to highlight some health challenges people are facing today. Okay? The first one I'm going to talk about is cancer. Cancer is a monster, and very simply, since there may be younger people here, it's really you have cells that go bad and then they grow out of control. And then they become so big, they become a tumor, and it's called cancer. So many people are getting cancer today. Before I came here, one of the reasons that I was late is I went to see a friend of mine who is 45, who was recently diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. He just came from India, he just had surgery, and I'll tell you a story about him as we go along. But before 1950, in Uganda, the risk for a Ugandan to get cancer was 1 in 50. 1 in 50 Ugandans was at risk for cancer. If you live a modern lifestyle, Western lifestyle, okay, you don't exercise, you're busy, you don't eat healthy, the risk for cancer, according to the World Health Organization, for men is now 44%. So 44 out of 100 men, basically 1 in 2 men are at risk for cancer in their lifetime. And ladies, it's 1 in 3. That's where it has reached. We have diabetes, a blood sugar control problem. Now, I won't go into technical things, but when you eat food, it's converted into sugar, and it goes into the blood, and then it's supposed to leave the blood and go into the tissues, brain or wherever. Sometimes it doesn't leave the blood. Now, there are 2 types. There's type 1 and type 2. I won't go into too many technical details, but type 1 is genetic, and usually you get it before age 25. Type 2, usually after age 35, but we call that one lifestyle diabetes, or adult onset diabetes. Now, 95% of diabetes is type 2, lifestyle. That means 95% of all diabetes you see is not genetic, it's poor choices. And 95% of all diabetes is actually reversible. Now, I didn't believe that when I started doing this, but I've seen so many people get off their blood sugar meds so quickly, I now know this to be true. But here's the interesting thing. My mother is a nurse, and when she did her nursing, let's say 50 years ago, 3 years in Fort Portal, 2 years in Mulago, she said she only saw 1 person who had diabetes. one in 5 years of nursing training. It's impossible to go one day in a hospital today without seeing diabetes. It is so common, it's in every home, every workplace. Diabetes is everywhere. When we were in medical school, there was already a diabetes clinic. Now there will be a diabetes hospital. Believe it or not, this type 2 diabetes, which they call adult onset diabetes, we now see it in children. Adult onset diabetes. I have seen 2 children, age 9 and I think and 11, with adult onset type 2 diabetes. I was actually shocked, but it's possible. So we need to ask ourselves, what's going on? High blood pressure. Many people have pressure levels above normal. We have people getting bigger and bigger. Our waistlines are expanding and our weight is just going up. And like Evas was saying, people will eat soil to get rid of weight, right? Now, interesting, in 1962, in the Independence newspaper, because I think it came out the time we're celebrating, was it 60 years or something? There was an advert for Ugandans to gain weight. Yes, because people were normal size. So they were trying to encourage people to gain. Now all the adverts are trying to lose weight. So something has changed. We have heart disease, clots. You know a clot? Yeah. You know, there's this very unfortunate story. Someone wakes up, says, I'm not feeling well. They go to work. By evening, they are gone. Isn't it? They got a clot. Heart diseases, there are many other types. Okay, we have strokes and heart attacks. We have headaches. Many people have headaches and memory issues, isn't it? You can't remember things very well. And you're fatigued. And we have digestive issues, gas, bloating, heartburn, constipation, ulcers. We have all kinds of pain, arthritis, allergies. I was the biggest victim of this. Asthma, fibroids. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but the message is, today, more than infectious diseases, this is what is affecting people. No, malaria is still there, yes, and pneumonia, but this is the main thing for middle, upper class Ugandans. And this is what kills people. So we need to ask ourselves, why did these problems come from? And what can we do about them? The good news is this. All these problems are preventable. And most of them, if not all, are reversible. But I would like to raise your awareness that many of these conditions do not have symptoms in early stages. You may be here and you have diabetes. I had a client about 2 days ago tell me how he lost his cousin. On the weekend, he just went out as usual, had a few beers. The next day, he was in a coma because he had diabetes, and he never knew it. So, if you're here and you have no symptom, that doesn't mean that you're healthy. Okay? As you drive home, those of you who are going to drive home, you may be driving and suddenly something pops up. When I was driving here, I got a warning sign that my coolant level is going low. Yeah? That's a sign that I need to go and check that out, isn't it? I could decide to go and remove the valve, isn't it? The one that shows me that the coolant is low, isn't it? And then what happens? Then I forget about the problem, isn't it? But the problem stays, right? So I've suppressed the signal, but I've not solved the problem. When you take cetirizine, you just suppress the problem, you don't solve the. We need to ask ourselves, why do people get cancer? Why do they get heart disease? Why diabetes? Why allergies? So now we have to go to the root cause of and the number one cause of all problems is poor diet. Number one. Second, toxic substances. Now when we say toxins, people think tobacco and alcohol, isn't it? That is true. But there are other toxins, like ketchup, like sugar, like soda. These are toxic substances to our body. Then stress. Many of us think stress is a bad thing, is it? No, it's not. Stress is a good thing. It's a very good hormone. Don't you think so? There's a story of a lady, a car fell on her son and she picked it up. And the guy moved. How? You can't do that unless you have adrenaline, but it only comes when there is stress. So it's a good thing, isn't it? But adrenaline, here is the problem. Adrenaline is the hormone of fight and flight. Usually, it used to come in the past when we would fight. So, if you fight, most likely you'll get injured. If you get injured, you will bleed. If you bleed, your blood needs to clot so that you don't bleed too. That's a good thing, isn't it? Now today, stress is not fighting. It's a phone call, right? You know what? Your papers didn't reach on time. So you're not going to, get a visa or something, or your mortgage has just been recalled. Then you get stressed, isn't it? Then your body produces adrenaline. But you have no one to fight with, isn't it? Now the blood will start to clot, expecting you to, but you don't fight. So your blood just clots and you end up with a clot. And then you get a heart attack, isn't it? Now, the consequence is bad, but it was actually preparing you to fight. Cortisol, which is the chronic stress hormone, is also good. It gives you stamina. If you have a deadline, you can spend 3 days awake. If you don't have cortisol, you cannot do it. So it's a good thing, it gives you stamina. But cortisol also realizes that this is a bad time. So many years ago, stress was not work. Stress was famine, war. Now imagine if you're a lady and you get pregnant when there is war. Is that the best time? So your body knows that when there is chronic stress, it's not the best time to get. So the body will temporarily switch off the reproductive hormones when there is stress, to protect you from getting pregnant in a stressful time. But now in Uganda and today, we are stressed from Monday to Sunday, January to December. So the stress hormones have switched off our reproductive systems, and many of us now struggle to get children. Because stress, which is supposed to help you, actually is wondering when is the stress going to end, and then I allow you to. So it's not a bad thing, it's just that we kind of see the negative consequences. Lack of exercise, cause of a problem. You see this word? Genetics. Many of us, when I see patients who have diabetes and high blood pressure, one of the first things they will tell me is who else in their family has this problem. They say, doctor, my sister has diabetes, my mother has diabetes, and my aunt, isn't it? Why do you tell the doctor this? To build a history, isn't it? Basically, to take away the responsibility from yourself and put the blame on your family. Everything runs in there. So it's not my fault, doctor, it's just my time. That's not the whole truth. It is true that the genes run in the family, but genes must be triggered by your choices and your environment. How many of us exercise here? Regularly. Oh, that's a fairly good number. You know your children are watching. Children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So one day I was doing press-ups, and my son was 1 year, I think, and maybe a half. He just came and started trying to do press-ups. So it was very hilarious. I was like, but you see, he sees you doing these things, and they learn. Now, my father played volleyball, he jogged and played table tennis. So he somehow pushed all of us to play sports. And we did. Now, if you don't do any sport, your child will not do any. If you stay at home and eat chips and watch TV, your child will do the same. So the same problems you have, your child will also, not because of genes, but because of bad habits. We don't inherit genes to make us sick, we inherit bad habits. If you change your family habits, you will transform what you call the family history of diabetes. Now, living a healthy lifestyle, let me ask you, how many of you here know how healthy you are? Just if you know, by your own standard, if you think you know how healthy you are, please put up your hand. Even the doctor's hand is not up.
How healthy?
How healthy?
Oh, and
Unhealthy.
Okay, let me ask some questions. How many of you know your blood pressure, blood sugar, and lipid profile, cholesterol levels in the last 1 year? How many of you have checked them? Okay, it's quite impressive. So, the first thing that you want to do if you want to be healthy is find out how healthy you are. You must all know our body mass index. How heavy are you? Ratio of your weight to height. You should know how much of your body is fat, how much of it is muscle. You also want to know your waist circumference. Now, the waist circumference is not measured at the level of the belt. It's measured at the level of the umbilicus. Because for us men, especially men, your belt can be here, but your waist can be. So you measure at the level of your waist. And your waist is a bigger risk factor for disease than your weight. You can be big with a normal waist, that's not as bad as small with a big waist. And then the body age. How old is your body? Unfortunately, we didn't come with a BMI machine, but next time we'll bring it at the next meeting. I mean, she was only 6 years above her age when she checked. When I checked the first time, I was 17 years above my real age. I was age 30, and my body age was 47. And actually, I was surprised. Now I'm age 40, and my body age is 31. So it can change. Don't feel deflated if you check and the machine tells you that it's time for you to retire. Because for some people, it will give you an age of 65 or 70 or something like that. Please go for a cholesterol test. Please go for cancer screening. HIV test, self-explanatory. Men, please go for HIV testing. I apologize, but I worked in an HIV facility, and I know that the men go for tests, but they don't go for the results. The ladies, they tend to be much stronger than the men. If you drink alcohol, please check your liver. Now, the message is go to a doctor, tell him your history, and have a checkup. Because if you don't, you could actually be a victim of a problem that could have been prevented by a check. I want to show you what cholesterol does to the body. This is a blood vessel. This is called a plaque, but for sake of making this easy, this is cholesterol, okay? Cholesterol, blood flows nicely in a blood vessel that has no cholesterol, and then in this blood vessel, there's a lot of cholesterol buildup, and it starts to block the blood vessel, isn't it? Now, this blood was going somewhere, isn't it? And now it finds resistance. Something is blocking. The body knows blood must continue going where it's supposed to. So in order to protect you and to make sure you still have the blood going, it will increase the pressure here. Does that make sense? So high blood pressure sometimes is just a compensatory response to increased resistance. It's not a disease sometimes. It's just obstruction to blood flow. Now if I give you amlodipine and Telvas, the pressure will reduce here, but I won't take this away. So the pressure, once the drug gets finished, in 24 hours you need another one, isn't it? If I take this away, the pressure will disappear. Because there will be no more resistance to blood. So most high blood pressure is reversible. My dad, 17 years of medication, after 6 months of lifestyle changes, off his meds now for about 5 years. And the pressure stays normal. Now, I wanted to show you this. Sometimes this thing builds up, and then it blocks the blood vessel. Even if you're on high blood pressure meds, if you eat badly, it gets blocked, and then there's no blood reaching here. You can get a stroke, or sometimes the thing can push and it becomes a clot. So this is what tends to happen commonly today. But all this is preventable. But first, know your numbers. If you don't know your cholesterol levels, you can't even know your risk. So everybody should know, because this has no warning sign sometimes. And sometimes if this happens, you can have a 30-minute window to live. If you live in the US, they can take you to a hospital in 8 minutes. That's the average time it takes for the ambulance to come and take you to the... In Uganda, I don't know what you can do in 30 minutes. We all know. So, real picture. I apologize. This is a blood vessel. This is where the blood flows. This is fat. This is how big the black part used to be. Can you see the edge? You see this? It's fat. If you eat badly, then you have that in your blood vessel right now. But you'll only get a problem when this thing is totally blocked. So, how do we get healthy? It's really about making the right choices. So I'm going to ask you a simple question. This is left and this is right. Which is healthier? Left or right? Pardon? Okay, just you know the answer, right? Next question. What would you choose on a Friday evening? Left or right? Right. After the whole introduction, I thought everybody would say left.
In the
Reality is right. Okay. So, very simply, this is where problems start. Not genetics, not family history, the choices you make every day. But here's the thing. If you make these choices, you're perfectly normal. Because this is what everybody wants to do. The human being is designed to crave sweet, salt, and fat as a survival mechanism. So the fast food industry, when they make this thing, it has just the right amount of fat, the right amount of salt, the right amount of sugar, the right texture. If you eat that thing, it tastes heavenly, isn't it? And then you can't stop thinking about it, right? So they have tricked us into being sick. They put everything the body wants, but they don't care about you. They care only to please your tongue. But fortunately, God made us not like cows and other animals. We have choice, isn't it? You can know this is nice, but you can still choose that. Now, many of us choose this also because there is no consequence, right? Immediately. If I eat a burger, what will happen to me? Nothing, isn't it? Tomorrow I'll be fine, I wake up and go to work. Eat another one next weekend, nothing happens, isn't it? But in 10 years, I will get a heart attack. Now all of us say, I'll change after 5 years, right? There's still time. That is not true. Many of us, we respond to fear, excitement. If there's no immediate threat of death, people don't take things serious, isn't it? Even those who don't exercise. If I reach in my bag and I say that now we are going to exercise, but if you don't, I'll start shooting. I can assure you, even those who have not worked out will work out consistently for 2 hours. If death is the other option, people raise their priority. But why should we wait for death to be the option? Let's start to make the right choices today. And the rewards are great. But I want to also say that when you eat this and you get sick, it's not bad luck. It's just a natural law. God made laws, and I want to tell you that laws are not violated. They respect everybody. Good, bad, black, white, young, old, a law is a law. Even this one. Do you know that law? What goes up? You stand at the window and somebody accidentally pushes you outside. Even if you just come from church and you're in your most graceful state, gravity will take it and you will fall to the ground. It's a natural law. If you eat this, it's a natural law that your heart will get blocked and one day you will need high blood pressure medication. Now, many people, especially the Christians, I'm sorry to say this, you know, I tell my sister, sometimes you don't feed your children well, and they could get sick. Now she has changed that. Before she would say, don't speak ill health into my children's lives. So it's me who is going to make them sick, not the things that they eat, isn't it? I went to school, I I went to school with someone who I won't say the name because Liz knows her. But she chose chips, chicken, and sausages. I said, this food can increase your risk for cancer. And then she says, I cancel that in the name of Jesus. And others say, amen, isn't it? Now, I always share this story because nobody wants to be sick. But we think that because we are Christians and we love God, we won't be sick. But if you have faith, I always tell people, test gravity. It's the best way to know if you have faith. Get your phone and you throw it up when the tarmac is there. Then you just use faith to prevent it from falling to the... If it doesn't fall, and it can stay there by the way if you have faith. Because the Bible is very clear. If you have faith, you can move mountains. But if you don't have faith, if you're just talking, gravity will take it. Now, I've shared this before, and some Christians have said, Doctor, I shouldn't have said that. But the Bible says in Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, that don't be deceived. God will not be mocked. He will reap what you sow. You can't sow maize and reap apples. It's not possible. You can't expect to sow this and reap health. It's not possible. And also, if you sow this, you will definitely reap health. So it's not complicated. The other thing I want you to know as Christians is this body you have is the temple of the Holy Spirit. That's what the Bible says in Corinthians. It says, do you not know that the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, who is within you, whom you have received from God? It goes on to say, you are not your own, you were bought at a price. Honor God with your body. It is your obligation to take care of the body. It's not a choice to do what you want with it. You must take care of it. So I'm going to urge you, raise your level of awareness. Make a conscious decision to take care of your body. And it will respond in ways you can't imagine. So first thing we want to do, drink more water. Yeah? Anybody has a bottle of water? 1 minute, 30 second water break. So the body requires 2 liters of water each day. 2 liters, okay? The body is 70% water. But if you want to know the right estimate for you, get your weight in kilograms and divide that number by 30. Get your weight in kilos, divide that number by 30. The answer you get is the amount of water you need in liters each day. Yes. So 60 kilograms, 2 liters. 90 kilos, 120 kilos. I hope nobody reaches there. The good news is this. Once you start drinking water, you will see many changes in your body. Please, the best temperature is lukewarm or room temperature. Very hot water does not have any extra benefit on your health. It doesn't burn fat, by the way, like many people think. It actually can slow down fat burning. Because when the temperature is too hot, your body has to bring the temperature back down. Do not drink as you eat. Drink only half an hour before or 2.5 hours or 1.5 to 2 hours after. These conditions have been linked to lack of water, headaches, backache, digestive issues, joint pains, fatigue, high cholesterol. There's a doctor, he's called Dr. Batman Galich. He was a prisoner, I think from Iran. And he said when he was in prison, when someone got sick, they used to call him. But he never had anything to use except water. So he used to have people drink water, and he began to see people get better. He came out of jail and wrote a book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And he said many times people go to the doctor, they are not sick, they are simply thirsty. If you drink enough water, many of these problems can go. Always start your day with 2 glasses of water. First thing in the morning, room temperature or lukewarm, put lemon and cucumber and drink. If you have digestive issues like ulcers, be careful with lemon as you start. Filter your water. And I'm going to tell you about something interesting about water. When God made water, it was H2O. But in a bottle of water, there's billions of water molecules. If you get natural water like spring water, it comes together in a nice hexagonal structure like this. Like this. This is what we call mineral water with minerals in the middle. The water we drink today, most of it is disorganized. The one we drink in the bottle, the one I also just drank, it's not structured anymore. This is what structured water looks like. If you take a picture of a water crystal, very beautiful, right? This is tap water. Now, scientists have been concerned about this, so they come up with ways to structure the water. So they use sound and light and many devices, and this crystal, this picture was changed from this to this as they structured it. How did they do this? They used sound. So they put sound in these devices, you put your glass of water on there and it structures the water. Now, I know this sounds mystical, isn't it? But if you told if 100 years ago your grandfather had told his neighbor that he would get a piece of metal and talk to it, and some voice would come out of it, they would have called him crazy or a witch doctor, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yep.
But we all do that today, right? With your mobile phone. Have you ever asked yourself how you talk to someone in New York and you say hello and they hear you immediately? You just talk and you hear, listen, isn't it? But they are miles away. How is that possible? Sound, waves, move very fast. So they can actually structure water with this. But I didn't put this here to make you interested in buying a bottle to structure water. I put it here because the scientist who was doing this experiment, this Japanese guy, in order for his experiment to be legitimate, he had to control the environment so that everything is exact. So he controlled everything, but the one thing he could not control was people's mood. Okay? If you come in a bad mood, you're in a bad. If you're in a good mood, you're in a good mood. Then he found that those who were in a good mood, the water was getting structured very quickly. And those in a bad mood, the water would get structured slowly, even though they were all using these devices. Then he concluded that your mood and your attitude sends frequencies that can make your water healthy or not. So what's the take-home message? Be thankful before you drink the water. Say a prayer and say, God, thank you for this water. Believe it or not, it will be healthier for you than if you just down it. But if you want to know about these bottles, one of them looks like this. So I met the guy who makes these things. And I told him I can't carry this thing around with me. So he said, I asked him to make these bottles for us and he agreed. So we buy the bottles, send to him and he treats them, and so at least I can carry my bottle. So if you want structured water, get this. But even if you don't, be grateful before you drink your water. Imagine, isn't that amazing? Okay, eating a healthy diet. So, like Eva said, I don't want to cause more confusion. So I'm going to share principles. And I think if you understand principles, you don't need to know all the facts. You just can apply them over and over. Now, I know it's a tough time, because with interest for eating healthy, everybody has come up with a theory. And sometimes it's confusing, isn't it? Like I was in the US, and I was listening to two doctors. One was saying, eat a lot of fat, and the other one says, don't eat fat. And they are both very senior doctors. So people get confused, isn't it? One day eat meat, one day don't eat meat. Drink milk, don't drink milk. You know, eat proteins, eat carbs, isn't it? So I'm going to share with you principles, and if you take these principles, they will be very simple for you to adopt in your life. But I think to settle this question about food, let's not go into science. Let's just ask the person who made us, isn't it? God made you, and after making you, he even told us how to eat. Do you know that? Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Day 6 of the creation. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. Full stop. first instruction to man on how to eat. Very fast. So while you're still debating, realize that we were instructed to eat plants. Now it is true, some of the biblical scholars challenge me. God did allow us to eat meat in Genesis chapter 9 verse 3 after Noah's Ark. But some scholars went further and said, let's look at life expectancy before meat and after. Before meat, people lived 900 years. After meat, it went to 400, 300, 200. We're not saying it's the meat, but it's like, maybe God saw we were eating some of these things. But anyway, plants is the instruction from God. Now, principle number 1, 90% of the diet should come from plants. No more than 10% animals. Principle 2, 90% of the diet should be real food. Now let me explain why we should eat plants. Human beings are primates. Primates are monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees. I'm not saying in any way we are related to them, but we are also primates. Primates have a long and coiled digestive system. And the important thing is food takes between 24 to 72 hours from the point when you eat it to the point when the residue comes out. 1 to 3 days. What you eat today, if you're healthy, it will come out tomorrow evening. Most likely it will come out Sunday evening, if you're like most people. Now, other animals, like lions, which eat meat, their digestive system is designed in such a way that food takes 3 to 8 hours to get out. Why is this important? Because meat goes bad after 8 hours. So for lions, by the time meat goes bad, it's out. For you and me, whether you like this or not, meat will go bad in your large intestine, in your colon, because it's still there and it will be there for another 12 hours at least. So putrefaction starts. Now we have colon cancer, second leading cause of death in cancers. Because of what? Too much meat. Now whether your blood group O, whether they told you in primary school that meat has protein, 90% of our diet must come from plants. This is a universal law. If you violate this, you will have to struggle with some consequences. Now, this is not friendly for many people, but it's the truth. And if I say the truth will set you free, but it can first make you miserable, isn't it? 90% of your diet, real food. What is real food? Real food simply is made by God, comes to you in its natural form. If it's a mango, it's a mango, not mango splash. Okay? Two different things. If it's maize, not posho. Okay? If you want to know real food, ask yourself, which tree does this thing grow? When they put bread in front of you, just ask yourself, on which tree does bread grow? Bread is one of the most unreal foods. Most convenient, but most unreal. There's a scholar called Michael Pollan. He said, don't eat anything that your grandmother would not recognize as food. If you took it to your grandmother and say, well, what is this? And she doesn't know, don't eat it. And I'll tell you, when I read that, I remember my grandmother, she came to live with us in Kampala. And cornflakes, every time we ate cornflakes, she used to get it and say, what is this? So, if you follow this principle, you don't need a nutritionist. Fortunately, the last one is good. 90% of the diet, healthy. 10% there's room for enjoyment, okay? So once in a while. But half of this real food should not be cooked. Now, quickly let's look at how we eat in Uganda. Some slides. Ask yourself, is this real food? Is this my home? Is this 90% plants? Okay, breakfast. Look at the amount of food on this plate. Sunday. One day on a Sunday, I decided to put out this tweet and I said, this is not good for your health. And Kampala went crazy on a Sunday. What is real food on this slide? Beans? It's baked beans. Egg? Maybe the egg a little tries, but nothing here really is. Now, this is heavenly in the mouth, isn't it? But once it leaves the mouth and it enters the stomach does not know what to do with this. Seriously. Now, when we were in school, this was what they called a balanced diet, isn't it? Protein, carbohydrates, fats, isn't it? So when you eat this, you like balanced diet. But this violates principle 1 and 2. Is this 90% plants? No. Is it 90% real? No. What about break time? Lunch? Another balanced diet. Proteins, carbohydrates, oil, vitamins and minerals, isn't it? Man, these guys have great food.
Yes.
Just know they're the right stuff when you go there. This is very common in Uganda. Is it? You know, Ugandans can serve 10 types of carbohydrate-rich food on one plate. 10 types of carbohydrate-rich food on one. White rice, brown rice, chapati, posho, sweet potato, yams, matoke, taro, isn't it? One plate. Then you start beans, peas, groundnuts. Then chicken, fish, and beef. Then when you reach the real healthy food, there is no more space, isn't it? Now, can you imagine? Your stomach can't. Can your stomach handle that? What about this one? If there is one food our government needs to be serious about, is chapati. This is the most nutritionally devoid food you can eat, and yet full of unhealthy components. Yes, it's wheat, refined wheat, only sugar, refined oil, refined salt, on a toxic surface, with a cavera and all. Okay, sometimes they put tomatoes and stuff, but this is very, very unhealthy food. Extremely unhealthy. I ate a lot of this at university. I wish I knew then what I knew now, but the body can reverse stuff. Now, when people say doctor eat healthy, this is what they mean, right? But this is, look at how much carbohydrate-rich food is on the plate. Small amount of spinach or whatever this is, lots of meat. And then when you finish eating, you leave all the vegetables. Isn't it? Children, how many of us have kids? You watch your children, you know what I'm talking about, isn't it? So for my kids, you eat this first. If you want to eat something else, this must first go, because kids are kids. Now, how should we eat? Half the plate fruits and vegetables, quarter of the plate healthy carbohydrates, quarter of the plate healthy protein. By the way, I want to urge you not to use these words, carbs, protein, calories, because we don't eat carbs. People say low carb diet means what? Low potatoes. Potatoes are not carbs. Potatoes are potatoes, okay? Potatoes have protein, they have carbs, they have fat. We eat food. So talk food groups. These things will confuse you, and then you will become malnourished because you stop eating carbohydrate-rich foods, and you need them. You need pumpkin, you need sweet potatoes. If you don't eat those foods, you will get into serious problems. Now, I took this from a book called, Pastor Rick Warren wrote a book, Daniel Plan. You know Pastor Rick Warren? What book did he write? Purpose-Driven Life. He said one day he was baptizing in his church and he got tired because they baptize by immersion, put you in water and take you. But he got tired, and halfway through the service he's like, you know what, how am I going to do this? People are still coming and everyone who is coming is big. Then he realized he was bigger than all of them. So he got doctors and asked people who wants to go with me on a journey. He got 15,000 people. They came up with a Daniel plan. This is biblically inspired on how to eat. There's lots of scripture in that book if you want to know how to eat. Breakfast should look like this. Break time at the office. Lunch, only one type of carbohydrate-rich food. More vegetables. Yeah? Dinner, smaller plate. Lots of beans and stuff. So, very quickly, the most important food group for humanity is greens and vegetables. Half of your food ideally should come from this. Now, when you think of how we serve food in Uganda, matoke is 70%, beans 20% or 25%, and then spinach 5%, isn't it? Now let's change that. 50% spinach, 25% matoke, 25% beans. All the nutrients you require, everything for health, is processed in leaves by a simple word called photosynthesis. Remember that one? Everything is in leaves. So if you don't get leaves, you miss a lot. If you want to fight cancer and allergies, these are called cruciferous: broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, sukuma wiki, kale. Read up this word. Okay? This is what broccoli is. This is cauliflower. Fruit. I'll share the presentation, don't worry. Fruit. We want to have 4 servings of fruit per day. Even children. 4 servings. Serving is the size of your fist. And have different colors. Every color has its own benefit. When you see red, red has lycopene. Orange has carotenoids. Yellow has vitamin C. Green has lutein and zeaxanthin. Blue has resveratrol. There's so many things. Don't go into science. Eat different colors, size of your fist. Eat fruit whole. Eat one at a time. And preferably on an empty stomach. So, there's too much confusion. What should I eat first, fruit, watermelon, or the other one? So here's what you want to do, ask nature. Have any of you climbed a mango tree to eat a mango in your life? Yes. Who has not climbed a mango tree? To eat a mango. You must try that before you get too old. In a mango tree, you only eat mangoes, isn't it? Yes. You don't eat mangoes, bananas, and grapes. It's only mangoes. So there's no mixing. In a mango tree, you eat the whole mango, isn't it? You don't peel and spit out. You don't make it into juice. You eat the whole. And in a mango tree, you don't go there after lunch because you're still satisfied, isn't it? You go when you're getting hungry. So you go on an empty stomach, you eat one at a time, and you eat the whole fruit, isn't it? That's how you should eat fruits. Now you go home, you buy mangoes on the way home, you go home, you peel it, isn't it? You throw away the fiber, put it in the blender, you blend it, then you sieve it, lose more fiber, then you put sugar, then you drink mango juice. Now that one is not real food. That one will cause your sugars to spike and cause you problems. But a mango is real food. So eat food the way nature made it. So when you get confused about how to eat, ask yourself, what would nature have wanted me to do? To take it into a factory and pull out everything and sieve it and filter it and no. Eat it the way God made it. Protein, I'm using this word to let you know that protein doesn't come only from meat, eggs, and milk. People ask me, doctor, if I don't eat meat, where will I get protein? You need to ask yourself, where do cows and goats get protein? Anybody knows the answer? Grass, isn't it? Now, we call protein bodybuilding food, isn't it? What does it build? Muscle, isn't it? So we eat muscle for protein, right? Now, if you ask yourself where cows get protein, it's obvious, grass. But what about big animals? Giraffe, elephant, rhino, hippo. Leaves. Do you know that a gorilla is the strongest land animal? And it doesn't eat meat. So where does it get protein? Protein comes primarily from green vegetables. Spinach, barley, broccoli, sukuma wiki, dodo. That's primary protein, not meat. Cows eat Lions eat meat. Meat is secondary protein. But when you're at school, please answer how they told you, okay? So that you don't get into problems. So beans, vegetables, and nuts. So very quickly, 10% maximum animal products. 10% is this. 3 meals in a day, 7 days in a week, 21 meals in a week. 7 days in a week, 3 meals in a day, 21 meals in a week. 10% of 21 is 2.1. So number of meals with animal products should never exceed 2.
In a week.
Because we don't need animal products, because it goes bad. We need plants. So, Sunday lunchtime, Saturday when you go for a wedding, and that's it. Animal protein only on the weekend. Now, this seems ridiculous, isn't it? I told you I interviewed my mother and my grandmother. I asked them, where did you used to eat meat as a child? Those of you who grew up in those settings. They used to tell me on Easter, on Christmas, when a visitor came, sometimes on Sunday, isn't it? Do you think they needed a scientist to make them healthy? No, it was natural. Meat was for feasts and once in a while. So, twice a week. If you violate this principle, it doesn't matter the science, you will be in trouble. If you follow this principle, you must get healthy. We must avoid red meat, beef, goat, sheep, and pork. Pork is red meat, not white. We should eat more white meat, which is chicken and fish. So once in a while you can, but quickly I want to move away from this so that we can wrap up. But I'd like us to say that let's not also have a lot of our discussion on red versus white. Let us think, how is this animal red? A goat that eats natural plant vegetation is better than a chicken that is called a broiler, that is grown in a cage, that is fed on food filled with growth hormones and antibiotics. That is not real food. You should eat local chicken and fish. If you choose to eat red meat, remember, twice a week. Please, no more than this, especially for children. Now, the worst meat is actually these ones, processed meats. Sausage, bacon, ham, salami, frankfurters, burgers. Especially for, do you know why especially for children? Children's cells are rapidly dividing. If they come into contact with a carcinogenic substance, a cancer-causing substance, and it goes bad, it will rapidly go bad. So children should stay away from these. There is no one who should eat processed meats. It's not real food. Real food is in nature, natural. Lions eat real meat. It kills, it eats. Lions don't eat dead meat. It doesn't come and eat an animal that died 3 months ago. This is processed meats. These animals died 3-6 months ago, and we preserve them with chemicals. There's no nutrition here. But worse still, they have chemicals that cause cancer. Studies have shown pregnant mothers who eat sausages, their children are 9 times more likely to get cancer. So let's not eat this stuff. There's no value in this stuff, however great it tastes. Another thing I want you to know about processed meats, because they are made, meat has a growth factor. And it makes our daughters especially start their periods very early. What do you think is the expected age to commence your period? 13? 14? Pardon? 18. Did I hear 18? Yes, that's the age. 18. That's how nature designed it. You start your period, a few years later you start giving. Now, you think this is not true? Any of you have your grandmother alive? Ask them when they started. My mother told me she began at age 17. My mother's generation, our mother's generation, as those who are sort of mine, began 16, 17. If it was early, it was 15. My generation was 12, 13, 14. Now, it's 9, 10, 11, isn't it? So whatever age you want to put it, it is rapidly going down. Why? Children are developing too quickly. Now, when you start your period, technically your body is thinking about childhood, but of course you won't have a child until age 29 or around maybe 25. So you have too many years of periods before your first child. Now, estrogen, which is the hormone of the menstrual cycle, if it doesn't get interrupted by a pregnancy and stuff, it makes cells grow, and it makes you at risk for fibroids and many other hormone-sensitive cancers. So it's not a good thing to start your periods too early, but it's a fact because we eat too many of these foods. If you eat healthy food, you can't start your periods early. So even boys, they start getting beards very early and they break their voices very early. So this is a real thing. But it doesn't seem like a problem because your 9-year-old child won't get a problem until she's age 30. I'll tell you, I see many 30-year-olds walk in my office with stage 4 breast cancer, and my first shake, and I'm like, wow, this is a real thing. Now, people don't know this, but it began at age 10, when you start eating unhealthy food. So parents, if you love your kids, don't give them these foods. Educate them first, and don't give them these foods. Yeah? Carbohydrate-rich foods are not bad, but eat them whole. Eat sweet potatoes, pumpkins, yams, cassava, matoke, Irish, eat maize, millet. Eat these foods, whole grain bread, brown rice. So let me say something. I can hear someone asking, did you eat that food? Two things you want to know about kids and food. Children don't buy food, right? So where do they get the food to eat? Food for thought. If you don't want your child to eat funny food, don't buy it. Say, doctor, my child eats unhealthy food. I ask them, where do the children get the food to eat? Do they buy? No. Do they cook? Not yet. So, where do they get it? Don't buy it. Even if they throw a tantrum, just tell them that this is the best food. Now, what should we avoid eating? Very quickly. We must avoid refined carbohydrate-rich foods. There's 3 categories. 1, white rice. 2, posho, grade 1. 3, any food made with white wheat flour. We must avoid bread. White, brown, white, brown, yellow. Chapati, samosa, mandazi, white rice, pasta, pizza, cake, biscuits, crisps, gorillas, chips. And the very worst are the sweetened things, soda and sugar, lollipops and ice cream. Children, those who are here, do you still like me? One time I met a mother with her daughter. I said, oh, this is Dr. Kasenene. Like, oh my God, you ruined my life. But honestly, these foods are bad for us. A soda has 9 teaspoons of sugar. Who wants to drink 9 teaspoons of sugar? Don't give your children these things. Diabetes, heart disease. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the sign of cancer, diabetes, heart disease. If you remove these foods, we will rapidly see these diseases disappear. Children, teach your parents, right? Tell your mother when she buys this stuff, this is not healthy, okay? Milk. Is milk a healthy food?
Yes.
No? Yes?
No.
Milk is a healthy food. It's a complete food, but milk is designed only for infants. For young children and young animals only. Do you know any animal that drinks milk beyond infancy? Besides human beings? Besides us? Dogs? Cats? Where do cats get milk? From us. Your cat gives birth to kittens and you separate the poor kittens from their mother, isn't it? You give all the neighbors and those cats are going to die, so you have to give them cow's milk. Otherwise, cats will never drink cows. Every milk is made for infants. After age 2, you don't need milk. Yes, ideally. And remember, every animal makes milk that is designed for that animal. Cow's milk is perfect for cows, not human beings. Pardon? This is a simple logic, isn't it? Is this confusing? Every animal drinks its own milk. The pediatrician is here, she can do research. Cow's milk has lots of fat, lots of cholesterol, lots of protein, very little fiber, little iron, and 0 vitamin C. Nothing for your child's immunity, nothing for your child's brain, nothing for their gut health, but everything for their size. So you walk with your 3-year-old child and you meet someone's like, oh, your child, are they 5? You say, no, they are 3, isn't it? Our 3-year-old children look 5. I was in the US, my sister says, buy clothes for my niece. She's like, but buy clothes which are for age 9, 10. I'm like, but she's 6. So imagine 6-year-old, oh, most of us. That's what we do, right? Now, cow's milk is perfect for cows. Breast milk from humans is perfect for human. If you really want to drink milk, maybe human beings should find a way to get breast milk. Honestly, if you really wanted milk, but cow's milk is not for human. Okay. Cow's milk, yes.
What's the alternative for milk, like for growing children?
For growing?
Children, what do you give them?
So, this theory of milk came with cereal, okay? You cut out cereal from your house. There's no more need for milk. Cut out this concept of tea with milk, and there's no more need for milk. What do you want to substitute? Give your children other food. Give them maize, give them millet, give them gonja, give them fruits, give them our Ugandan stuff. And there'll be no need for milk. But you can make milk using plants. You can get almonds, you blend them, you strain them to be milk. Almond milk. People say, where will I get calcium, right? Calcium is good for our bones and teeth. There is no doubt about that. What is good for your bones and teeth is calcium, not milk. Okay? You say, but where will I get calcium? Well, where do cows get calcium? The best source of calcium, seeds. Sim, highest calcium content in all foods known to man. Chia seeds, flax seeds. Then spinach. When I learned nutrition, I thought I was old to learn nutrition. But my lecturer said, you know what? If they ask you what food has something and you don't know, just say spinach. Spinach has a lot of everything. It has more calcium than milk. It's a fact. Otherwise, cows would not be able to have enough calcium for their bones to be strong. They are huge. Look at elephants, all these huge animals. They don't drink milk. So how do they have bone health? You don't need milk for bone health. You need calcium, and calcium comes from the soil and is processed in leaves by photosynthesis. So you don't need milk. After age 5, you don't need milk. But ideally, when you wean your child off the breast, that's the end of milk. Trust me, God could not have designed human beings to need to get milk from cows. That can't be the perfect design. But, 2 words of caution. Someone in a rural setting who has food problems and is malnourished can benefit from cow's milk. Okay? Someone who is very elderly and doesn't eat well could benefit from that. But people in this room, there's no need for cow's milk. Oil. I'm not a fan of oil. People ask me which is a healthy oil. I don't think there's any healthy oil. I think some oils are better than others. But oil comes naturally in nuts, in seeds, and avocado. The best oils of those which you want to try are olive oil, avocado oil, and coconut oil. Only that. The worst, sunflower, soybean, corn oil, palm oil. Sunflower, don't use it. It's terrible. But aside from these, the dangerous ones, margarine. Margarine is deadly. It is banned in America. And if America bans the food, it's terrible because America doesn't ban anything. Europe banned trans fats many years ago. America was still giving them to their people. But as of June 2018, no more trans fats in their diet. In Uganda, it is sold as healthy food for children. If you give your child margarine, you're in trouble. Margarine is not natural, it's a synthetic substance. They get sunflower oil, which is already terrible. Then they put hydrogen to make it stable at room temperature, to make it solid, okay? They hydrogenate it. Hydrogen smells. Some of you may know that if you did chemistry. So nobody would buy a smelling product. So they deodorize it with petroleum. Yes. Now petroleum makes it gray. Now who would buy a gray? So they have to bleach it. Then they bleach it, now it's yellow, isn't it? Then they put 2 drops of vitamin A. So now it's healthy for your child. Honestly, that's not healthy food. And our Bureau of Standards don't even know that it's not healthy. At least if people know and make a choice, but they don't even know. By the way, if you want to know that margarine is bad, you take cockroaches and flies near it. They will also run away. Quickly. Ants, they will come, smell, and because they only eat natural things. So, how to structure your meals? Breakfast, herbal tea, plus or minus honey. Put fruits at breakfast. Oats, high fiber cereal, eggs, maximum twice a week. Lunchtime, half the plate, greens, legumes like beans or peas. 1 type of carbohydrate-rich food, like pumpkin or sweet potato, not 5 types. Dinner, vegetables, salads, animal products twice a week. Try not to eat dinner beyond 8 p.m. Best 7 p.m. Cooking food, I'm going to go fast because we have to wrap this up. Now, 50% of the food ideally should not be cooked. Okay? If you cook it, be careful of heat, water, oil, and the saucepan. Oil, we already saw what it does, right? You don't want to have your arteries blocked. No one wants a heart attack. Aluminium saucepan, bad for your health. This saucepan is terrible. Yeah? It's bad for your brain, your kidney, reproductive system. Throw them away. And this one, stainless steel, clay. Go back to nature. Okay? Salad Master is great if you can afford it. Yeah? So, here's my take. Do not sell your property or your land or take your loan to buy that soft cookware. This is from me. If you're very convicted, you can. But that's like driving a Ferrari. You don't have to drive a Ferrari. You can drive a Mercedes-Benz and still go around, okay? But if you can afford it, it's up to you. Go and buy stainless steel, okay? Just go to any supermarket and buy stainless steel. It's not as good as Salad Master, but it's much, much better. There are many companies. This company, this is the one I recommend. By the way, I also recommend Salad Master, but the one I recommend is this one from South Africa called Nutristar. Same concept, waterless, oilless. It's chromium nickel stainless steel, and it's not as expensive. It's $700 for the whole 5 tons. It's still expensive, but not 5,000 bucks. But if you can afford it, it's up to you. But don't be taken by saucepan prices. Just get stainless steel, right? Okay, supplements. Nutritional supplements are not needed in an ideal world. Okay? But if you lack a nutrient, you may need to supplement. Ladies, I'm going to make a strong plea. Within the next week, please go and check your vitamin D level. It's a blood test. Vitamin D comes from the sun. But low vitamin D is strongly linked to breast cancer, bone problems, high blood pressure, and heart disease. I have only seen 2 women in about 300 who have adequate levels of vitamin D. And send me the results, because the lab range, what they say is normal, is still way too low. You want the number to be above 50, okay? In case you don't remember the number. If it's below 50, please supplement. Or go in the sun and spend 3 hours a day. Now, we won't do that, right? So take a supplement of vitamin D, okay? That's where they're useful. Don't just say, no, they are bad for us. Even if I went in the sun, my hands and my face, right? I won't get enough vitamin D unless I'm there for 10 hours, dressed like this. And I won't be in the sun for 10 hours. So, omega supplements, everybody should have an omega-3 supplement. Everyone. Children, adults, brain health, cholesterol, diabetes, clots, joints, memory. Omega-3s come naturally in chia seeds, avocado, and nuts. But I recommend everyone should supplement if you live in this busy, stressful city. Probiotics, if you have gas or bloating, or you've used antibiotics a lot, you need these. Now, you don't need these things for life. 1, 2, 3 months and that's it. Then let a healthy diet take over. This is a supplement, not a substitute. Okay? But I don't really recommend this one, multivitamin. If you eat healthy, you don't need a multivitamin because you'll get everything you need. But if you have a deficiency, this is the omega-3 I recommend, krill oil and ultra omega. This brand is good, but you can take any omega-3 that you trust. Matcha, a type of green tea drunk by the Japanese. Many people have told me that after drinking this tea, they feel so much better. It's an antioxidant-rich tea. It's good for cancer, detoxification, fat, cholesterol, memory. We have some at the back, but you cannot read about it first. So I'm not a fan of selling things, but these ones I really recommend that you should get because they'll be very, very helpful. Chia seeds, we talked about this. Chia seeds is great, but it's not magical. People have called me and said, "Doctor, when you talk, you said it helps me lose weight. I've taken 3 tablespoons of chia seeds for a month, and I've not lost 1 kilo. Then I asked, did you exercise? No. Do you eat healthy? No, I'm taking chia seeds. You have to be, it's very cheap, maybe 15,000. Quantity 2 to 3 tablespoons a day for an adult. A child, 1 tablespoon, maybe 2 to 3 teaspoons. Chew it, put it in water, in a salad. It's up to you. But don't give it to a child below age 5. Because it absorbs water, and if you keep it in their mouth, it will become like a ball and maybe obstructive to the respiratory pathway. Okay. Lastly, detox and weight loss. So, toxins, because you can't smell something, doesn't mean it's not toxic. Because something looks nice, doesn't mean that it's not toxic. We talked about some of the toxins already. Okay? Many of the spices we use, I don't know how, MSG, monosodium glutamate, very common, I'm sorry to say the brand Royco. Just go and look at these things. There are many toxic things in those flavorings, additives, colorings. You don't need that stuff. Go to the market, buy turmeric, ginger, okay? Use that stuff for your food. Use natural spices. Toxins are stored in fat cells. Another source of toxins is chemicals sprayed on our vegetables. So wash them thoroughly. Wash them with water, then soak them in lemon, sodium bicarb, vinegar, apple cider vinegar. If not, contact NOGAMO, National Organic Growers Movement, I think, of Uganda. They grow organic food. When it's in season, you'll find it. And it's not very expensive, but it's hard work to get it because it's a process. But it's not sprayed and it's much healthier. But toxins are stored in fat cells. Whenever your belly is getting big, and I can feel like from the US, I was there, I already gained like a few inches. My sister-in-law wouldn't listen to my stories of I eat healthy, so she made me eat the most unhealthy things. But if your belly is getting big, what is big is fat, not muscle. And so, people keep money in the... Now, why does the stomach become the best harbor for toxins? Because the stomach fat is near the liver. And the liver is the one that removes toxins. So the fat must be put near the liver so that the toxins are near there. So when you want to remove the fat, get rid of toxins. Detoxify, even if you want to lose weight. How? Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Fruits and vegetables. Eat them raw. Don't kill the nutrients with heat. Do that for 7 days. My story. It's amazing. It's hard, but once you do it and you succeed, it's amazing. Get yourself a nutrient extract, a Nutri-Bullet. Now, juicing and blending, a lot of debate. I prefer blending because you want all the fiber. You don't want to sieve out anything. But when you blend, it's too thick. So if you get a nutrient extractor, there's Nutri-Bullet, Nutri-Ninja, Vitamixer. Those are the brands. They break down this thing and it's like a smoothie. And for children, just put in banana. They will beg for it like they've never asked for anything else. And you can then put in all the spinach, kale, and sukuma wiki and everything else. Juicing removes all the pulp, and we need pulp. Everybody should own this. It costs $650,000. It's expensive, but there's nothing more expensive than a heart problem. You can lose 15 kilos in 6 weeks. Give us a call. Exercise, the last point. I'm happy in this room many people exercise, but exercise, keep it simple. It's not a treadmill, fancy equipment, a gym. It's just you, a good pair of shoes, and a commitment to do what we had to do in the beginning here. Do it until your heart rate goes up, until you sweat. At least 20 minutes a day. Recommendation is 2.5 hours a week of moderate intensity exercise, minimum. Do stretching, touch your toes, just stretch out your hands. Strength exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, crunches. Don't make it complex that you need a trainer to devise a plan for you, okay? Just do something. When you're at a good place, then you can look for a trainer. But people who think they have no time for exercise will sooner or later have to find time for. Okay? What goes up will come down. Make time. I'll tell you a last story. Cousin of mine, I really harassed her, and I accept because she just kept getting bigger and bigger, and she also had difficulty breathing. One day she yelled at me when I told her to exercise. She said, "Doctor, you tell me when to exercise. I'm a mother, I go to school, I work." She was really not happy. And she gave me a long schedule from 4:30 in the morning to 10 p.m. and said, "You tell me where to fix time in this schedule." Some of you are like that, isn't it? Busy. But I asked her, "Do you really do all this?" And she said yes, and she was proud of herself. And I said, "That's good for you, but if you plan to do this tomorrow, you have to wake up. Okay, if you don't wake up, then you can't do this. And you only want to wake up if you're healthy. And you'll only be healthy if you exercise. So you need to find time somewhere in your busy schedule, okay? What fits the busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? If they ask you that, your doctor, I can assure you, you will find the 1 hour. Look, let's not wait to be sick for us to make a choice. It's very simple. If you work in a building where there are steps, take the steps, okay? Park your car far. Sometimes leave your car at home, take a taxi, don't use a border. You don't have to pay for exercise, you don't have to go to a gym. You can actually exercise everywhere in nature, get vitamin D as well. Get a fitness monitor, Fitbit, iWatch, Samsung Watch. What is the iWatch? Apple Watch, isn't it? Get one of those. I put this here because it changed my mother. My mother was the most stubborn person. I can't exercise, those are foreign things. Until I told her, okay, the World Health Organization says you should take 10,000 steps a day. And she said, surely I take 10,000 steps a day. I'm like, really? Let's measure. So I gave her one of these things. Day 1 was about 2,000, day 2 about 2,300. She was really in shock that she takes so few steps. So she's like, I'm going to make sure I make 10,000. I didn't believe her, but one day my dad called me and said, what did you do to your mother? I said, what do you mean? She's like, it's 9 o'clock and she's in the compound walking up and down. She wears it on her. She has the type that she wears. She doesn't like these modern ones. She wants the one where she can see the steps. She walks everywhere until she makes 10,000. That works for her. Find something that works for you. Get a walking partner, a WhatsApp group. Please exercise. Okay, it's not very complicated. Way forward, and lastly, find out how healthy you are, drink some water, lose weight, please get a NutriBullet. I'm going to give you, I know I don't have time, but I want to say 3 important things. I just came from a conference in the US, and it really made me realize that there are things that impact our health more than just food and exercise. And our mental health or emotional health is very important. I know that's Ivas's area of specialty, so I won't go into her area, but the 3 things I want to encourage. Number 1, gratitude. Saying thank you. We studied and we found when you say thank you and you mean it, your brain produces chemicals, endorphins, dopamine, feel-good hormones. It fights diabetes, immunity goes up, cancer chemicals are reduced, pressure chemicals that lower your pressure are increased. It's amazing. Thank you. Now, it's a busy, stressful world, isn't it? And so we think about all the problems that we have, all the stresses that we have. But if you wake up tomorrow morning, that's a reason to say thank you. Don't get out of bed. Feel 30 things in your heart. Feel gratitude for 30 things in your heart. Studies have been done and showed that people who are depressed, gratitude is more powerful than antidepressants. Much more powerful. With 98% recovery rate if you do it consistently. The next thing, deep breathing. You breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and you do that 15 times. First thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed. Breathing is the only system in the body that both your body and mind can control. Christians, please don't be afraid of breathing. People say, Doctor, are you sure it's not yoga? It's not yoga, it's breathing, okay? We're all breathing right now, isn't it? So it's not yoga, it's breathing. I don't know what yoga is, but it's just breathing. But I don't think yoga, if it's just breathing, is a bad thing. If they are chanting and mantras, maybe. But you're all breathing. The first thing you do in the world is breathe. The last thing you do is breathe. So please take 15 deep breaths. Lastly, forgiveness. Please forgive. Lack of forgiveness is the second leading cause of autoimmune disease. Children, tell your parents what to do. My daughter, believe it or not, tells me, Daddy, that's not allowed. I'm like, really? I'm like, we're at someone's place and I'm going to eat a cake. She's like, Daddy? I'm like, but you know it will be bad. She's like, no. She's so strict on health that she'll be the champion. So these kids you see here are going to be the ones to champion you. And please let them take care of you where they have to. It's never too late to change. 3 months, you will have a brand new body because your cells will all be changed. Start small. I urge you. Sometimes it's overwhelming. You come for this talk. There are so many things to do. You don't know where to start. Pick 3 things and start. More water, less sugar, less meat. Okay? Conquer those and go on to the next. There are many groups of people and communities that have taken milk predominantly, not only from Western Uganda. Today I gave a talk to the parliamentary pension scheme, and the guy from Karamoja stood up and said, this is our food, milk and blood and meat. And people from Tanzania, the Hadzas, they eat only that. It's true that some groups have over time evolved to depend on these foods. But what we know for sure is that you're talking of your grandfather, but it wasn't just milk. He lived in a fresh air, ate healthy food, and even the milk was real milk, and there was many, many factors to why he probably lived up to 89. But if you had given your grandfather vegetables, he would have lived up to 110. That is a fact. So we're not saying don't drink milk. We're not saying that there are no societies that don't drink milk. But we're saying that some people, especially pastoralists and nomads, because of what they do and the way they live their life, they've evolved to eat foods like that. But where they've done research and compared people who predominantly ate meat, like in Tanzania there's a group called Hadza. They are still 100% nomadic. They don't get a lot of cancer and heart disease, and they eat a lot of meat. But they don't live as long as the people in Japan who eat predominantly plant-based. So where you have an opportunity not to drink milk, leave it, okay? It's about education and awareness. You will do better without milk than with it. But we should be very careful. Our grandparents are not like us. The first 20 years of your life are the most significant for the rest of your life. It's a fact. And our grandparents, by age 20, they were super healthy. And they ate a lot of vegetables. My grandmother used to eat pumpkin leaves. I had never seen anyone. She would not even cook them. She would just get them and clean them like this and start eating them. And I used to wonder, what is she doing? But so really, I know Western Uganda, I told my mother-in-law not to drink water, and she just said, "You're crazy." But knowledge helps us to live longer and have a better lifetime. Yeah? But I'm not saying don't drink milk, but if there's something better, do that. Vegetables are sprayed, it's true. In Uganda, it's very, very sad because there are even standards. You shouldn't sell a food within a 40-day window from spraying it. You shouldn't spray, but even if you do spray, there should be a 45-day window. People spray today and sell tomorrow. So we are really bombarded by these chemicals, but we can take steps to try and clean them. Like we say, use lemon, use apple cider vinegar, and use soda bicarbonate or baking soda. Wash the vegetable. Everything is sprayed. Animals are sprayed also. They are also injected with chemicals. Every crop is sprayed. So if you're worried about spraying, you will not eat. But just to talk about your point, it's true Uganda is blessed. In fact, when I go abroad, I don't eat fruits because I can't. The bananas are terrible. They said these are organic bananas, but I just couldn't eat them. There was something about them that just wasn't right. But unfortunately, in Uganda, although the food is still natural and fresh, we are spraying it. So this Nogamo, what they're doing is they're making sure that they're not spraying the food. So while we can still go to Nakasero and get healthy food, I would say if you can grow your own food and use natural ways to avoid these pesticides, that's the best thing. But if not, look for people who actually grow their own food and look for small farmers. Small-scale farmers usually don't have these extensive spraying things. But let's be aware that spraying is a real issue. We must lobby our government, parliament, okay? This is a real problem. Have you heard of a company called Monsanto? Yeah. Monsanto produces herbicides that cause cancer. And they've been sued, they're almost going bankrupt in the US. But the number one pesticide and herbicide in Uganda, Roundup, Monsanto. And nobody knows this, so we need to have more people lobbying. GMO foods are not real foods. Genetically modified foods are terrible. But of course, politics and maybe economics can influence these things. But we really have to be aware and make our informed decisions. I'm sorry that you missed the food. I know it's... I'll tell you, when I began eating healthy, the one thing I couldn't stop was chapati. I never used to tell this to people, but I would eat healthy, but I would still eat mine. It took me 3 years to be able to see chapati and say, no, I'm comfortable not eating it. So don't worry, we're all human. And the nice things are not healthy because they deliberately made them that way. So just stick to it. After a while, your body will adjust. Once in a while, there's room for ice cream. Once in a while. So I don't believe in being too strict. I'll tell you, someone found me at KFC. My daughter wanted, they have nice ice cream. This one. She really wanted that ice cream. So I said, okay, let's go and buy. And someone saw me and said, Doctor, we got you. We are going to post on social media. I'm like, look, once in a while ice cream, it's okay. But not every day. And may the parents, please, don't treat your children with unhealthy food. Don't say, now you've done well in school, let's go and eat KFC. No. KFC can never be a reward for doing well. It's something you can give them once in a while, but not that it's a good thing. Otherwise, they'll associate these unhealthy things with being good. Let's stop here. My contacts were shared. So thank you very much. I wish you a nice weekend.
People can never change behavior unless they have understanding. So we change behavior on the basis of understanding. So Paul, you haven't just given us knowledge, you have given us understanding. Understanding is a higher level of above knowledge. Thank you so much. If I had a better word to use, I would use it. But now I just have to say thank you. It's not very easy to get Paul, and I just want to say thank you once again, but also to request next time, come. This knowledge is what we need.